Being living beings, we are in need of a tool for proper appreciation and acquisition. Everything that we perceive, observe, analyze and possess needs proper appreciation and acquisition. And it is said in the Shastras, Jnanam hi paramam sadhana. Only through proper knowledge we can appreciate what we are holding as well as we can acquire the same. And one more super definition is there for this acquisition and appreciation. Appreciation comes when wonders of simplicity are revealed, and acquisition is possible only when simplicity of great wondrous things are perceived. So the most simply envisaged things or envisioned things that which are said to be the most greatest, sweetest and wondrous in the world is life. It is the greatest, sweetest, smartest mechanism as well as the most wondrous thing in life. So life is the basic objective of every objective that we deal on life. So it is told in the calculus or wisdom calculus or Jnana Sankhya or Jnana Pariganana, we used to say, if proper knowledge about life, its base is not there, then knowing everything about other systems of life and other dimensions of life and knowing about anything else than life in your life is a wastage of life. That's what they say. So knowing about the foundations of life and purpose of life is a basic of education. It's not an optional part-time job, or it is not something meant for only hyper-intellectual people. Even an elementary feed or morsel of that knowledge should be provided to every person so that he can make his behavioral engineering as well as social engineering in a proper direction. Point number one, what we want to emphasize here is the study about life. Three dimensions of life is there. Biology, whenever we ask people what is life science, they tell biology. But it is not so. There are three divisions of life. One deals with origin of life. What is the element of life, where it has come from, and what is the process, what is the destination, what is its teleology, that is the end purpose, immediate, mediate, remote, and absolute purpose of life. That is coming in this section 1. And section 2 is, you see, you should understand what percent biology is doing. According to philosophical foundation, this soul or the life element does not need any associate. It is self-functionally in nature. But when it is interrupted by a bondage mechanism, it needs two things. One is dehashraya, second is desharaya. It descends to a land or a platform where it wants to live. In order to facilitate proper living and communion, it takes a body. That body is also composed of matter. So this life element has some association with the partnership of the mature nature in two different ways. Prakriti consists of two things. One is dhatu samuha, second is shakti samuha. One is group of elements, second is group of forces. So the unborn eternal souls, when subjected to a bondage by a tongue immemorial cyclic possession or compression, it acquires a system of being implanted in a platform known as earth, as well as possessing or associating with the body system. In the body system also, there is some composition of matter. It is also composed of body. The matter is also a composition of various other elements. We see both the things, where in Loka and in Deha we see matter, but they are actually different. It is known as Chetana Anukula, that is known as Jada Prakriti. Whatever we are seeing in the world, they are also composed of the same elements. Whatever we see in your body, in the form of flesh, skin, nerves and everything, you see the same elements in the external matter also. But this is a personal associate and that is a functional associate. This is composed of biofavorable or probiotic assembly, that is known as functional assembly, where it is meant only for enjoyment or bhoga. It is known as bhogopakarana, that is known as bhogastana and bhogadravya, according to Shastra. So this matter is entirely different from the matter that is perceived outside. Our body is composed of some matter, but the matter is having a different configuration. This matter will not process into a body unless it is vivified by a spiritual or soul or life matter or force that is activating it. That is the difference between this and that matter. Now biology is a science which deals with the partnership of matter, that is Prakriti Purusha Yoga. Purusha means not masculine gender. Puri Sharire Vasati iti Purushaha. Purusha means any person who occupies a body, starting from spermatogenesis, oogenesis, embryogenesis to this type of form which we have in species designs. Everything is having a base. This body assumption or body preoccupation or occupation or sojourning, what we call in Shastras, that is paryatana or atana. This is having the association with matter. So biology is not a life science or soul science at all. Biology deals with the process of body building by a life force. So whatever we read in the modern context as life building blocks, for example, we say it is carbon, it is molecule, it is amino acid, it is protein, it is a nucleic acid, it is carbohydrate, it is lipid, whatever we call as life building blocks, they are BBB, body building blocks using the life force. Using the force of life, they are body building blocks, they are not life building blocks of life because they don't build the life. Life is built. Life is building the blocks through these agents. So the truth is something which is reciprocated or reversely or adversely presented. So what we understand is the second dimension in biology. Third is to live a fruitful life by means of its social, economical, political, moral, cultural and spheres. So life science does not start with biology or ends with biology. It ends with the teleology but starts with ontobiology or ontospirituality, where we deal with the real sense of soul. This is the foundation or prologue of what we are going to deal in this research studio. So innumerable sciences, whatever we read, they are only ancillaries to life science. Cell biology, molecular biology, microbiology, system biology, structural biology, developmental biology, evolutionary biology, paleontology, paleobiology, paleozoology, phytology, anthropology, innumerable things, ecology and molecular genetics, biomolecular genetics, molecular engineering, immunogenetics, population genetics, all these innumerable sciences, they come under the ancillary sciences. This is what we have to observe as the quintessence of the today's research or the ongoing series of researchers throughout the world. This is a foundation platform for that. So I want to just, because of positive time and my also personal preoccupations, so I want to just enlist few special insights as per the philosophical views and traditional views according to our own traditional system, how the Darwin's theory or the modern biologist theory, they are futile and even fatal in nature. That is what we are going to establish. We are taking everything as a prima facie view. And point number one, we do accept three vadas. I want to put everything in Sanskrit and English. First is Vikaravada. We accept that everything is subjected to a change or evolution. We don't deny that. Swabhava Vikara Yuktaha Atma. Swarupa Vikara Yukta Prakriti. Ubhaya Vikara Vihinaha Purushaha Paramatma. That which is changing in the structural assembly is known as Prakriti or nature. That which is having modulations in its functional assembly is known as soul, depending upon the consciousness variations. That which is immutable on both grounds, it is known as Ishvara, Purusha, Paramatma. This is what our science is. The Tattvatraya, the basic ideology which everybody, most of the philosophers, they accept. So we accept, but we don't accept Ativikara. Microevolution is Vikara, and macroevolution of one phylum or one class or order or family completely metamorphosing into something else is totally unimaginable, which is known as Ativikara. So we accept Vikara, but not Ativikara. And second thing is Ullanghanavada. What is Ullanghanavada? We have Swatantriya, that is known as Parimita Swatantriya. Self-designing, selfish gene, self-thinking, self-modulation, self-redesigning, all these things are possible. But there is a parimiti. You know that highly mischievous children will be tied to a cot with a rope. They can wander only up to a limit. If you cross that, violation will create disaster. That is known as Ullanghanavada. So whatever we make changes in the microevolution in our structure, those things are observable, but if they exceed the limit, it will result in futility as well as adversity in nature. That is the second vada. Third thing is very interesting. It is known as Purva Siddhi. Whatever you see as a new information, certainly there should be a base which is latent. Avyakta, Alpavyakta, Ativyakta, Subhyakta, Gudha. It may be something in the abysmal core of every gene inscription. It may be in the peripheral labor, subperipheral labor. It is in the intensive stage. Whatever it may be, nothing can come emerge as a new thing. Nasato vidyate bhavaha. Nothing can emerge. There is a basic philosophical summum bonum based on which the evolution theory is refuted, because nothing can have a de novo emergence or genesis. That which is not there cannot emerge at all. Based on this rule, we are against Apurva Siddhi, we are Purva Siddhivadas. What is Purva Siddhavadi? Purva Siddhavadi is a person who establishes that everything that exists in a latent, abysmal, intensive, or even in a clandestine layer without his knowledge, that only emerges on occasions, based upon four things. One is casualism. Casually it may emerge, on conditions it may emerge, on a command of a superior force, internal, external, it may appear. Because of circumstantial compression and changes it may appear, but everything that resides inside only appears. That is the third thing. And two more doshas I want to just hint. One is avyapti. If there is a slow and minute process of changes that is happening in the world resulting in macro evolution, it should be there in all creatures. They say that it takes thousands of generations. Asankhyata parampara siddha. Only it happens after millions of years, after thousands of generations. So it should pervade into every life species of the world. But why it is not observed in bacteria and fireflies? They have tested bacteria. Bacteria's life span, that is ESP we used to say. That is ephemeral span of its prevalence. So they start with 12 hours to 24 hours. That is 1 day, 2 days. They are having ephemeral lifespan, bacteria. So thousands of generations have been observed in bacteria. Why this is not occurring in bacteria? That is known as avyapti dosha. If evolution is a global part, otherwise if you say that evolution occurs only in one part of the world, that will create madhyama parinama dosha as per Hindu logics or Indian logics. Madhyama parinama. That is avyapti, it is not affecting it. So it should affect, evolution should affect the entire cosmogenesis or the entire genesis system. But it is not affecting the microbes. Most of the microbes, why? They are verifiable. We can easily see the why it is not that. That is known as avyapti. That is not there seen in microbial evolution like bacteria. So it is known as avyapti. Asadhyata. There is no possibility for something known as accidental, coincidental, random or natural selection. There is no possibility at all. Because of few reasons. Only one thing I want to say. The Shastras used to say that there should be something which is having a random possibility like Gudakshara Nyaya. You know about shore creatures. Whenever shore creatures crawl in the sand, they create some structure like alphabets. It may be some alphabet in some other language. But these alphabets cannot create a complete text of Bhagavad Gita. We cannot say that this Yatrunchika, that is crawling of some snail or something, has written the entire text of Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible. So random things are not possible. How it is possible? See, if you want to create a dynasty, that gene should be in the reproductive cell. The chance is low. Even in the reproductive cell, it should be simultaneous. Even if it is simultaneous, it should be collective. Even if it is collective, it should be constructive, because every mutation is only a signal of danger. You know that in genes, mutation will cause only futility and adversity. Nishpalata and viparitapala. This is the end product we are seeing. So it should be constructive, it should be complete. So that's what the Shastras used to say. It should be purna. That is, it should be full, it should be tivra, it should be forceful, it should be avrita, that is, it should be frequent, it should be not only frequent, but it should have a strong fixation in the population to create a dynasty known as evolution. So, sthira. So, it should be purna, according to Shastras. Purna, tivra, avrita and sthira. These four qualifications are given for something to be fixed in the society, which is humanly impossible in these levels. Is it impossible? Is it possible in the level of evolution to think like that? There is no possibility of this random composition in all of these levels. And three major experiments were conducted to disprove this. They have proved three logical fallacies. One is Swabhavika Siddhi. Second is Kritrima or Samprerita Siddhi. And third is Anyata Siddhi. So they have disproved Darwin's theory by these three methods. In the 1000 Genomes project, they have selected a lot of genomes. They have recorded the history of more than 250,000 years with 10,000 generations. They have registered everything. And they found out that there is nothing known as classic leaf. If it is not minute and slow, Darwinists say that it is nothing but a great classic sweep. Suddenly it emerged. Then they recorded for 250,000 years and they told that there is no classic sweep. Paucity of classic sweep, infrequency in a system that should be continuity and precision. It is infrequent. And third thing is, there is no possibility to imagine that this classic sweep theory is having a dominant role in human genome, etc. Human genome or human life, there is no possibility at all. So they have proved that naturally it is not possible. Then there was one research with Drosophila. It is known as experimental evolution. Experimental evolution with the Drosophila. They have made a research. So if it is not naturally possible, let me create induced selection in a laboratory. What they have found out at last? There is no possibility to imagine about a fixation that results in newly arising, unconditionally advantageous allegiance. That's what they have concluded. So naturally it is not possible. So Swabhavika Siddhi. And even if you induced by a kritrima, that is by an artificial methodology, it is not coming. Anyata siddhi. What is anyata siddhi? Even if you are not capable of producing this, something else adverse to your own philosophy is produced. By Lenski experiment, you know about Richard Lenski. In his experiment, it is proved that they have seen 60,000 generations. 60,000 generations have been observed, and they concluded with the judgment saying that all the mutations are either futile or adverse, and even the seen mutation in the form of citrate, that is citrate supply, its ability to adopt or use the citrate in the cell, that is also purva siddhi. Already existing information has been regenerated and nothing new has been produced. So it is totally nullified and totally adverse to the system. New innovations have been found out. And finally, 5 major points and directions I want to quote so that we can see it is a journey. We should not think that this is the only auditorium, but these are all the only audience. Our audience is the entire globe, and it is a small process or midway inside that, and let us take it with the utmost spirit and challenge and see that we can make this vision infallible and invincible. We can do that. So I want to just quote few points. As we are also doing a form of research on peace and harmony through scientific ambience, how we can produce by creating good scientific vigor, temper and innovation. That also we are working. Point number 1, there are few Shastra-based arguments I want to put here. That's why I emphasize both to understand that the tradition is fully logical and packed with energetic things instead of mere anecdotes or stories. You should understand that. One major fallacy of this Darwinist evolution is Paranirupana Apaharana dosha. Paranirupana Apaharana dosha is misappropriation of opponent's testimony. Recently, you know that they have identified something known as orphan genes. That is a taxonomically restricted genes. Unlike the other genes, that is expressed sequence tags of the EST. Unlike that, they are having some more newly identified things without any proper homologue address for that. What evolutionists they are saying is, this is a proof for de novo genesis. All these genes are newly created, newly emerged. So we cannot accept you. It is only a proof to us. See, they have not shown any proof for the origin, not for the transition, not for the practical observation of a system known as evolution, macroevolution. They have not shown anything. In that, to accept a system of de novo genesis in the system is a fallacy to them. So, this is orphan genes only show that evolution is totally discarded. That's the only thing. Second proof is Anupalabdhi dosha. What is Anupalabdhi? There are a lot of fossil records. Whenever something is available for proof, it should be Jivita, Mrita, Jirna, Sanjirna, Samabhijirna. It should be alive or dead or mere body or body, decayed body or fossil. Fossil is known as Samabhijirna in tradition. So fossil records, none of the fossil records prove that there was a transition element, either plant or animal. See, if something is evolving into something else, that should be a fossil record for that, either plant or animal. Nothing is that. There is no intermediate creature. Darwin has told there is a finely graduated system of organic chain which is having a lot of intermediate creatures. Where is the proof for that? So there is no fossil proof. You know that recently they have found out something, Archaeopteryx. It is in between a dinosaur as well as an ace family. There is a bird. But recently the American Natural Museum, the American Museum of Natural History, they have preserved this and they have discarded. No, it is not a transition element, it is a dinosaur, and the feathers and other thing appear in this is available with even non-avian dinosaurs. So it is a dinosaur of a different form, not a transition period or not a transition period represented in the form of bird or animal. That's what they are told. Recently Tiktaalik, you might have heard of it, scientists may know that. Tiktaalik recently they have developed one new system. So taking that it is also a transition element. So the Anupalabdhi, there is no proof for that. And one more finest humor I want to quote here. Dr. Mayri made a report about the theory of Darwin. Darwin observed that all elements isolated in islands, all species isolated in islands, because of lacking of proper resource support as well as lacking of competition, small elements will grow big and big elements will grow small. So shrinking of magnificent elements and enlargement of smaller elements, creating a system of demon and dwarf in his own way, he has made a report that it is a proof. But Dr. Mayri report said that there is no possibility, it is a magical imagination. It is a fun and fantasy, that's what he has told. So scientifically, we need not go for religion, even scientists of the same community, they have created. And one more final vada is Prayojana Vattvavada and Prabala Pramana Virodhavada and Vishishta Pramana Virodhavada. You see, evolutionary biology that was monopolizing the society. before a century. Now recently, because of advent of molecular biology and systems biology, they are laughing at these evolutionary biologies because of advance of various things. For example, there was one Dr. Ernst, he drew the diagrams of all embryos, like cat, pig, humans. He drew the diagrams of all things and showed that all people are subjected to evolution, they are similar. Even if they are similar, Shastra says that there may be something similar, most similar, approximate, identical. But their distinction should be read in a different way. Human bhava, human pratibha is extremely unique. And it is just like saying that all animals are quadrupeds having 4 legs, so all are equal. How we can say that? So Sankhya, number of components, Rupa, seeing their shape, Varna, seeing their color, and peripherals, Avarana, you cannot judge that both things are similar. 1997 recent report said that this Ernst Haeckel has forged all of the diagrams and that are totally wrong. So new emergence of not consciousness, the science itself in molecular biology as well as system biology ridicules at the evolutionary theory of Charles Darwin and his associates. One final vada is Prayojanavatva vada. What is Prayojanavatva vada? They say that there are junk DNAs which are totally useless. Evolutionary people, they are clearly after that. But recent discovery of the same people say that more than 80% are having definite usage. Nahi kashchit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrit. There is no element in creation which has no specific definition, purposeful function, action and destination. Everything is subjected to a rule. Isn't it so? So it is having a particular thing. Second, they were saying that non-coding RNAs, they are just simply sitting quiet, they don't have any work at all. But recently, they have understood that it is the cell response engineer of every cell. It is the response engineer of every cell, and that is with temperature, chemical control, electrical control, everything. Even environmental signal processing is done only by RNAs. That's what recently they found. Third is, you know about the vestigial organs, for like tonsils, thymus, pineal gland. They said that these things are useless. Why they have come, from which they have evolved? The answer given by Darwin is they are useless. They don't have any meaning. Recently they have found out appendix is very essential for intestinal bacterial restoration and preservation of salubrity. So everything is useful in God's creation. Even you know about the Stephen Hawkins, blind watchmaker. He has written a book about the Muller cells, saying that Muller cells have no usage at all. But recently they told that it is the administrator of the metabolic and homeostatic exhibition of the entire optical system, and it is a guide for light into the inner retinal tissues. So Prayojanavatva vada is everything in a creation is said to be fruitful, useful and having a definite function. And finally, coming for creating life, I delivered a lecture about creating life, whether it is possible or not. Sadhyata, avashyakata, whether it is possible or not, what is the necessity? Lives are already created. Then I told, your creativity or cloning will be useful if you can create from one atom of gold thousands of tons of aurantinum and argentinum. It may be useful for economic revival of the entire globe. What we want to need is there are a lot of infertility problems, natural and man-made disorders, and behavioral disorders are there. The society is very much congested with behavioral disorders. So creating life, you know about the famous Urey experiment, Wilhelm Urey experiment, where he tried to create something known as life. He created only amino acids. Like that, lot of people are interested in creating life. Francis Jacob, the famous Nobel laureate, he told that there is no possibility of even imagining that a de novo functional protein can be created by random association of mere amino acids. We can create amino acids as an expensive cost of millions of dollars. That's what we are going to achieve, and there is no possibility to create life. That's what he has said. And finally, logically they told, tree of life, what they have designed is subjected to 4 major fallacies. One is Ananvaya. What is Ananvaya? See, if you see the tree of life, it will be a fun stock. There will be extinct species, then living species and extinct species. How it is possible? And what is the meaning of that gap? There is no gap at all. Second thing is Ayuktivada. What is Ayuktivada? Very funny it will be. For example, there will be sudden appearance of few qualities. Suddenly they will disappear in one standard. Suddenly they will reappear in some other standard. The same thing will appear in different elements without any connection at all. It is known as Abhava, Bhava, Pradurbhava, Punarbhava, Vyapti Doshaha. Why it came, how it came, why it disappeared, when it came once, why it is reappearing some other times. Why, for example, wings are there. Why wings are appearing simultaneously in bats as well as insects, as well as in all birds, and also various other things. 4 major divisions are there. Bats also having wings, insects have wings, birds they have wings. Why everybody is having wings? Why it is reflected in unconnected things? For example, one more Ananvaya dosha is we are having placenta. In placenta or marsupial, we are having similarities, but they are not connected with the same link. Why they are connected? There is no answer for that. And one more final logical fallacy is very interesting. It is Vigati Parikshana. There was a great person known as Saivanan, that is Dr. Michael Saivanan. He created a major lab research with the 2000 genomes with the 6 elements. And with the gene inscriptions or expressions, he could not drive or he could not establish a genetic tree. That should be, if there is an evolutionary tree which creates understanding of expressions, that should be a reverse process of reaching the same tree through the genetic expressions. But he tried and at last successfully failed in interpreting the evolutionary branching system or tree. And one more interesting thing is, there was a person known as Kevin Peterson of Dartmouth. Dartmouth professor Kevin Peterson, interestingly, he made a research and he established that human beings are having more closeness to elephants rather than rodents. So the genetic expressions are having multifarious messages contradictory to each other. There are possibilities of not reaching the benefit, that is aprapti. Anyatha aprapti is reaching some other wrong results. So this tree of life, TOL, is a total failure. And finally, well, that's what I asked in the seminar. Who is more intelligent? One who is observing and understanding this creation, or one who has framed the structure? The founder and frameworker who has established or from whom everything has emanated, he is a great personality, and religion emphasizes how he can be well understood. I wish that there should be a special platform, there should be an instrumentation, proper instrumentation, as well as instrumentalization by means of creating a great syllabus for that. Recently, syllabus to be revisited was my lecture, where I told that in modern syllabus like astronomy, we see Kepler's laws. They don't merely replace Ptolemy or Copernicus. They go along with that, creating the evolution of understanding of science. That's what I told. Charles Darwin should take place in syllabus, just as a record of pursuit, not reward of pursuit. It should be considered for verification, not considered as verdict. So we should deal with the modern microbiological, molecular biological and genetic researchers, where we have got marvelous findings which replace as well as repudiate the earlier things. The earlier things, because these things are based upon scientific dogma. They want to stick into Darwinism because of its faith in science. That's what I told. Who is incapable of understanding something known as God, supremacy or consciousness, they have to dwell inside the matter. That is the first destiny. Second destiny, those who cannot answer beyond, they have to say it is natural, it is random, it is casual, it is accidental, because they could not answer beyond that. So what we want to do is, number one, we have to create a syllabus in which proper verification of Darwin is there with a proper verdict. Second thing, we have to establish in any part of the world or India an exclusive, extraordinary research institute for life sciences in the proper way. It should not have a religious tent. It should lead the person to religious fervor, attachment or research, but it should not emphasize or indoctrinate a particular form of religion. Religious, spiritual, philosophical understandings should be made as electives, extraordinaries or excessive organs, whereas the proper pursuit of understanding the common minimal program, that matter has not come from matter, that should be the binding instinct of all of us, and we have to create an institute from our trust. We are hopefully willing to sponsor, patronize, support and associate in all possible forms to see that this noblest mission is made successful. Narayan, Narayan, Narayan.